Jane Kingsford says, "Hi Raf, I've been doing a bit of deep dive in the previous blogs or a lot of Googling and would love to hear your opinion on a couple of questions I have, if you have time. Firstly, mind-muscle connection. For example, I understand that me lifting the milk out of the fridge is a biceps contraction unconsciously. They're working perfectly without me putting in any mental effort. The few articles I've read about mind-muscle connection increasing the quality of the contraction also makes sense to me. And it's something that I've found has made a difference in my movement or gains, more so from lifting heavy at the gym. Something that I know can really affect my Pilates practice is how much hard work I, quote, make, end quote, the exercises for myself. I come from a very technical dance background growing up, but I also very much believe that there's no such thing as a wrong movement, and I'd like to think my teaching reflects that. I guess I'd just like to hear your opinion on it, and if and when bringing more awareness to particular muscles or movement qualities is beneficial for Pilates or lifting heavy things. Great question, Jane. So basically, the question, as I understand it, is it better, or, under what circumstances might it be better to really focus your thought and your attention on the muscle that you're working or contracting in order to get a better result, depending on what you're trying to achieve? And so the research literature is pretty clear on this, and there are two sort of different scenarios. One where you would want to not focus your attention on the muscle, and the other one where you probably would want to focus your attention on the muscle. So the first one is if you are trying to increase your strength, if you're trying to increase your skill in movement. So if you're trying to increase strength, and strength is, by strength I mean your ability to express strength, so your ability to exert force against the outside world, whether that's on against a weight or a spring or some other object in the world. If you're doing a biceps curl with a dumbbell, it would be moving the dumbbell. The biggest dumbbell you could move would define the limits of your strength. So it's very clear from a widely replicated literature that an external focus of attention enhances strength development and strength expression. So if you focus your attention on the dumbbell and on moving the dumbbell, you will actually be able to move a bigger dumbbell than if you focus your attention on your biceps. And whether it's a dumbbell or a barbell in weightlifting or a flex band or a spring on a reformer or your own body weight in a jump, or, doesn't matter. It's been shown multiple times in different contexts that focusing on the result of the movement and focusing your attention on a point outside your body that is related to the result of the movement is going to enhance your strength. The second component, and the second component is the movement skill. So if you're trying to, perfect a dance move, or even perfect a Pilates move, like trying to, achieve the perfect roll-up or the perfect teaser, or, you're trying to learn a martial arts move, or how to serve in tennis, or how to improve your golf swing. So if you're trying to improve your movement skill, an external focus of attention related to the outcome of the movement, so the result of the movement, is going to enhance your movement skill development. So if you were focusing on a dance move, if you're trying to learn a dance move, thinking about the movement of your dance shoes, or, moving and then watching yourself, videoing yourself, watching the video, and then as you're moving, moving and thinking about the video and trying to replicate that, or making, trying to land very quietly so that there's no sound, there's a particular sound or a very soft sound. All of these things are external. All of these things are related to the outcome of the movement. If you're in a sports situation, it's very, very easy. You focus on the movement of the club in golf or the racket in tennis, or you might focus on the movement of the ball, depending on your level of skill, because more skillful people will benefit from a more distant focus of attention, whereas more intermediate and beginner learners will benefit more from a more proximate focus of attention. So if you're a relative beginner, you should focus on the club, whereas if you're a more very highly skilled person, focus on the ball. So this is the case across a broad range of activities, ages, levels of skill, etc. So it's very well replicated and uncontroversial that when you focus your attention out on a point outside your body that relates to the outcome of the movement, you will enhance skill development. You'll also enhance strength, and you also enhance endurance. So when might it be a good time to focus your attention inside the body and focus on the muscle that you are contracting? When you the reason that when you focus outside your body, you are stronger, is because when you focus on if you're lifting a dumbbell, doing a biceps curl, well, we think of that as a biceps exercise. But there's so much more going on than just the biceps contracting. Well, number one, it's not just the biceps that flexes the elbow. There's the brachialis, there's the brachioradialis. Then you have, those are the muscles that directly flex the elbow. Then you have a whole bunch of muscles that control pronation, supination in the forearm, because as you flex, you don't want the dumbbell to go sideways. So you have to, use your pronator teres and a whole bunch of other little muscles in the forearm to precisely guide the movement of that dumbbell. Then, of course, you have to use your wrist and finger flexors, which are on the medial side of your forearm, to control your wrist. And of course, then you have to control the rotation of your shoulder so that the dumbbell doesn't fall inwards or outwards. And you have to maintain your shoulder girdle in a still position so that the dumbbell comes up rather than you coming down. You have to contract your back muscles, your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves to prevent yourself bending forwards. So there's a whole host of muscle contractions. And then you also have to contract the opposing muscles on the arm, the triceps. And of course, that's not just the triceps, just like on the front, it's not just the biceps. You have on the back, you have the triceps, you have the anconeus also, which is like a little single joint elbow extensor. Okay, so basically the elbow extensors are the brakes. And so just like if you drive a car forward and want to stop at the end of your driveway before you drive through the garage wall, well, you have to hit the brakes. And the same, when you do a bicep curl, well, you don't want to smash your face with the dumbbell, so you have to hit the brakes so that the dumbbell decelerates at the end of the movement. And so in order to do that, you have to contract your triceps, which of course oppose the biceps. So the more you contract your triceps, the harder it is for you to lift the dumbbell, because it's like trying to drive with the brakes on. So there's this incredibly rich, complex, textured symphony of muscle contraction that goes on in this supposedly simple movement of a biceps curl. And when you focus your attention on the result of the movement, bring the dumbbell from waist height to shoulder height. You focus on the trajectory and smooth trajectory of the dumbbell. What you're doing is essentially you're giving the non-conscious parts of your brain that organize movement, the premotor cortex, essentially, an instruction that says, move the dumbbell from here to here and move it smoothly. And then the premotor cortex will, or like a good lieutenant, will arrange that for you. The premotor cortex will figure out which muscles need to be contracted in what sequence, at what level of activation, and will orchestrate all of that for you and spit it out as a bunch of motor commands to the muscles that will achieve your desired result. And the premotor cortex is much better at doing that than your prefrontal cortex, which is where you consciously think. And so if you think about, contracting this muscle and this muscle and this muscle and this muscle, well, you end up contracting the muscles harder. So when you use when you use an external focus of attention and your premotor cortex gets to do the planning, you basically get to use less synergistic muscle. So you use less of those guiding muscles, less antagonist muscle, less of the triceps and anconeus on the back of the arm. So you glide more efficiently up the driveway and glide to a halt, centimetres from the garage wall, rather than kind of revving the engine whilst having the brakes on and sort of jerking forwards like you do when you're a beginner learning to drive, and the same when you're a beginner learning to move a weight. And the reason beginners are more clunky like that is because they use conscious motor planning. In other words, they consciously tell their muscles what to do. And when we do that, we tend to way over activate muscles. So we end up, using too much triceps and too much rotator cuff and too much trapezius and too much pectoralis major and minor and latissimus dorsi and all of the other muscles. And those muscles are co-contracting, so you've got all of the muscles contracting all at once, and that makes things rigid and jerky and also opposes the movement of the bicep, the contraction of the biceps. So you end up using more effort to do the same movement. So that's why you get to express more strength when you focus externally, because your premotor cortex can plan it and is much more efficient at doing it than your conscious brain. Conversely, though, when you use your conscious brain to plan it, you use more effort to do the same movement. So you actually get a higher level of muscle activation when you focus on that, and it is in fact harder. So when you think about this idea that, as you get better at Pilates, it gets harder, well, that applies in the case where you're focusing internally and you're focusing on activating a muscle. Well, when you do that, you increase muscle activation everywhere, okay? More co-contraction, so you're opposing that muscle more. So the muscle, in fact, has to work harder. So you actually make it harder for yourself. So that would probably it increases the work and thus probably increases the fatigue that you are going to achieve in that muscle, which may enhance muscle hypertrophy, muscle growth, because there is some benefit to fatigue on muscle hypertrophy, although it's relatively minor. And the main thing that contributes to muscle hypertrophy is the level of mechanical tension on the muscle fibres. And the way to get more mechanical tension on the muscle fibres is to lift a bigger dumbbell. And the way you lift a bigger dumbbell is use an external focus of attention. So we're back to external focus of attention. So I would say 99 times out of 100, go with an external focus of attention. When would I use an internal focus of attention? Probably like when meditating, when focusing on my breath, when trying to kind of get out of my head. Those are the times I would use it. But having said that, I think getting out of your head, well, if you're focusing on a point outside, that's a good way of getting out of your head as well. So I guess I'm a big fan of external focus of attention, and there are my reasons. I hope that makes sense.